To thank the ranking member, Senator Whitehouse, my friend and collaborator. It's great to be here and be doing this together. And I was just saying to Senator Whitehouse that I told him I would tell you to be nice to him in your answers because he's a tough questioner. He'll take you to task. I'd like to thank the witnesses for their attendance at today's hearing. I'd also like to highlight two empty chairs today, which I save for two invited witnesses who apparently don't share your commitment to discussing these issues. One chair is for TikTok. Parents, if you don't know what TikTok is, you should. It's a Chinese-owned social media platform so popular among teens that Mark Zuckerberg is reportedly spooked. For Facebook, the fear is lost social media market share. For the rest of us, the fear is somewhat different. A company compromised by the Chinese Communist Party knows where your children are, knows what they look like, what their voices sound like, what they're watching, and what they share with each other. TikTok claims they don't store American user data in China. That's nice, but all it takes is one knock on the door of their parent company, based in China, from a Communist Party official for that data to be transferred to the Chinese government's hands whenever they need it. TikTok claims they don't take direction from China. They claim they don't censor. In fact, in a letter submitted just today to this committee, TikTok said this: "No governments, foreign or domestic, direct how we moderate TikTok content. TikTok does not remove content based on sensitivities related to China or other countries. We have never been asked by the Chinese government to remove any content, and we would not do so if asked." That's what they say, and without objection, I'll enter the whole letter into the record. But that's not what former employees of TikTok say. Today, the Washington Post is reporting that TikTok's Chinese parent company imposed strict rules on what could appear on the app, in keeping with China's restrictive view of acceptable speech. Former employees said company officials based in Beijing had the final call on whether flagged videos were approved. The former employees said their attempts to persuade Chinese teams not to block or penalize certain videos were routinely ignored, out of caution about the Chinese government's restrictions. One former ByteDance manager, that's TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, said this: "They want to be a global company, TikTok, and numbers-wise, they've had that success, but the purse is still in China. The money always comes from there, and the decisions all come from there." That's sure a different story than the one TikTok has told this committee in this letter, and that's a problem. TikTok should answer for these discrepancies. They should answer to the millions of Americans who use their product with no idea of its risks. They should have been here today, but after this letter to this committee, they must now appear under oath to tell the truth about their company and its ambitions and what they're doing with our data. The threat isn't just to children's privacy. It's a threat to our national security. We don't know what China can do with this kind of social data in aggregate, what it tells China about our society. They can see who we talk to, what we talk about, where we congregate, what we capture on video. Not all of TikTok's users are just kids. Some work in government or for the military. Others are celebrities or work for major American companies in positions of influence. What does it mean for China to have a window into such users' social lives? Why would we leave that window open? The other empty chair belongs to a company that has helped open China's window on American consumers, Apple. We're accustomed in hearings like this one to hearing about Apple as a good corporate citizen. It encrypts its messages. It limits its own data collection from users and gives them privacy controls. But Apple's business model and business practices are increasingly entangled with China, a fact that they would rather we not think too much about. China is essential to Apple's bottom line, both on the supply and the demand sides of their business. Apple's investments in Chinese production have helped build the scientific and manufacturing capacity of America's greatest geopolitical rival. But Chinese demand is even more critical to Apple's future. And to service that demand, Apple is risking compromise with authoritarianism. The company hosts its Chinese users' iCloud data in China as part of a joint venture with a Chinese government-controlled entity, GCBD. Apple frequently talks about encryption, but where are those encryption keys for the data stored? China. Apple says it has control of those keys, but who knows what that means, and Apple isn't here to tell us. If you've got family in China or business contacts there, you cannot count on iMessage encryption to keep your interactions secure from Chinese authorities. And if you're a Uyghur or a Chinese dissident or a protester in Hong Kong, Apple's corporate values won't do much to protect you. In the midst of the Hong Kong democracy protests, now in their 22nd week, Apple pulled an app from its store that helped protesters and citizens stay safe during violent police crackdowns. Why? Because Beijing pushed for it. Just a few days later, Tim Cook was appointed to chair the board of Tsinghua University's business school. If you're an American user of an iOS, you can't be confident that the Chinese government isn't reverse engineering the platform through their privileged access to it via their joint venture with Apple. With Apple and TikTok, we see two sides of the same coin when it comes to data security. The danger of Chinese tech platforms' entry into the US market and the danger of American tech companies' operations in China. That's one of the most important subjects we can discuss at today's hearing. How does the tech industry's entanglement with China imperil our data security? I look forward to the witness's testimony. Thank you for being here.